go, sir. Good evening, everyone. We are on the record. This is a caucus of the Jersey City Municipal Council. Today is Monday, January 12th in the year 2015. We had a 5:41 start. Our scheduled start was 5:30 p.m. I needn't take attendance. We have a full house of 9 city council members. And we have the mayor of Jersey City, Stephen M. Fulop, here with us. Mr. Mayor.
All right, so first I want to say thank you to the council president and to the council for letting me join you today. Obviously, I don't come that often here other than when we think that there's something very significant and exciting happening in Jersey City, and I think that today certainly meets that criteria, significant and exciting, specifically regarding healthcare and our EMS, which has been a conversation over the last year that you're all very familiar with. This is in a different capacity. Jersey City literally leading the entire country and being an innovator in using technology to reinvent and to distinguish how we provide the best EMS service in the country, if not the world. We are blessed here to be joined, well, first by a medical center that provides response time in the range of slightly more than 5 minutes, which is amongst the best in the country. And what you're going to see here is a concerted goal and a plan leveraging best used technology elsewhere in the world, that we will have a target to have a person on the scene to provide immediate help within 2 minutes. So taking a product that's already best in class and taking it to far and away the next level. There are other cities that are exploring this as well, and I'm proud to say that we are going to be the first in the country, and it really is revolutionizing how you provide this service. If you think about Uber, which you're familiar with, if you think about Airbnb disrupting familiar systems already that were in place and set as the status quo, this is very much in that same vein of taking an approach of how can we better provide a service that was there. As we go through, joined by Rob here, who is responsible for EMS at the Jersey City Medical Center, and to my right is Mark Gerson, who is the person who first brought to our attention this model based on what's done in Israel and the technology that's there. This is entirely going to be done with private dollars and literally will be a difference maker. And the thought process on this, and I'm going to explain to you all how it works, or Mark is going to go through it, but the thought process on this is that if you think of, let's say, in this building today, if somebody is choking, or God forbid there is a heart attack that happens in this building today, right now, perhaps in the council chambers or in another room on the other side of the mayor's office, what would happen is the person there would call 911. The ambulance would respond in 5 minutes, best in the country, as touched on earlier. And Rob, who is a EMT and could have provided help for that individual there for certain, would find out that that 911 call came in when he hears the sirens and all the commotion outside. And the common sense thinking is, if we have somebody here that's capable of helping, how can we better use technology to make sure that we're leveraging those people who are there, when Rob could be on the scene providing help for somebody in probably 30 seconds in this situation. Big difference in somebody who's choking or having a heart attack or who needs that sort of service. So we have a short presentation for you, and the ask is not an actionable step on the council agenda. The ask is really to help us make sure that the public knows, because part of this is recognizing that people are inherently good and good Samaritans and want to be part of what we're doing. In Israel, they've expanded this to almost 3,000 people that are a part of this, and there's no reason that we can't reach our benchmarks that we've set, which are modest in Jersey City, which would really be a game changer on many fronts. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Mark to explain a little bit how this would work.
Thank you, Mayor Fulop.
Mark, is there trouble you to spell your last name?
Sure, Gerson, G-E-R-S-O-N. Thank you. So just first, it's a real honor to be here and to be at the forefront of what's going to be the first in the country for what we're about to talk about. By way of background, I'm an entrepreneur in New York. I've started a couple companies, Gerson Lammer Group, Enthusiasts, and I'm also the chairman of United Hatzalah in Israel. And it's been our dream to make the system that enables Israelis to be treated within 2 minutes following a trauma to happen elsewhere. And this is going to be the first place in the United States where it's going to happen. So we're going to go through how it's going to happen. And as the Mayor said, Rob Buckwitz and Paul Sussman are here from the Jersey City Medical Center who are going to be operating the program. So, to use an example of the problem to solve, actually the Mayor just said it perfectly. Let's imagine that right outside on Grove Street right now, one of the apartment buildings or in a restaurant, we have a pediatric choking victim. She has 2 minutes before brain damage sets in from asphyxiation, and she has 6 to 7 minutes before total brain death. Jersey City, from our research, has the fastest response time in the world for an ambulance, but it's still going to take 5 minutes for an ambulance on average to get to that victim, at which point, of course, it'll be too late. Now imagine a very different scenario where Paul and Rob right here have treated thousands of choking victims, and if only they knew that there was a choking victim within a block, 2 blocks, 3 blocks of here, they could be on the scene within 90 seconds, and that girl would live rather than die. So this is how the system works. The victim, or whoever, obviously not the victim in many cases, but whoever nearby the victim is going to continue to call 911. And the program is going to be called CBEC, which is a term that was pioneered here in Jersey City, a community-based emergency caregiver. And these are going to be volunteers that we're going to recruit from the community, hopefully with your help. And these are people who are going to say that if someone in my vicinity, if one of my neighbors is in need of immediate medical help, this person will be trained and equipped to provide that help. They'll get the call on their smartphone that there's someone in need in their immediate vicinity, and they'll be dispatched to the scene. They'll immediately arrive, begin treatment, hopefully within 150 seconds, to be followed up by the forces that now serve them. So this is based on the system that is operating in Israel and was founded in 2006. And in Israel right now we have over 2,500 volunteers, medics, paramedics, EMTs, all over the country, responding to over 650 incidents a day. And these are the nature of the calls. About a quarter of the calls are life-saving, about 41% involve life-threatening injuries. And that shows how the system saves lives. Because if someone is bleeding, choking, suffering from a stroke, suffering from a heart attack, the difference between life and death is going to be measured in time that's well below the time it's going to take an ambulance to get there. So if a community-based emergency caregiver can get there within 2 minutes, as happens in cities throughout Israel, the victim is likely to live, whereas the same victim in the aforementioned hypotheticals would die otherwise. And this is, Mehmet Oz visited United Hatzalah headquarters in Jerusalem 18 months ago, and that's what he said. He said he'd never seen anything like it. With the combination of advanced technology and dedicated ambulance volunteer corps is deployed towards saving lives. Now this is just a life cycle of a call, which is exactly the same thing as it is now, except there's going to be a community-based emergency caregiver dispatched who will likely get there ahead of anybody else because we're going to know where they are at any given point. So if there's a community-based emergency caregiver right here, and there's a victim a mile away, he's not going to get the call. Someone else will get the call. But if there's a victim a block away, he'll get the call, he'll respond to the scene. And as the mayor said, it's going to be entirely philanthropically funded with at no cost ever to the city or the Jersey City Medical Center. And a derivative benefit to this program in Israel, which we fully expect will happen here, is the real fraternity of citizens which is developed. So this is a photograph of 4 volunteers that represent the full range of Israeli society. And so what we've seen is that when you have volunteers working together to accomplish a task that everyone agrees is holy, saving lives, you create just very deep friendships and lasting bonds among people who never would have otherwise known each other. And that was an award that we got for peace based upon the real brotherhood that's been launched by the first responders in Israel who never would, otherwise would have even known each other. And so this is the timeline. So immediately we'd like to begin seeing who would like to be a volunteer. And it's very important to get people from every place in Jersey City, because we want to be sure that when the call comes in, we have a community emergency-based caregiver near any victim. So we need volunteers from all over the city, and that's going to begin today. In mid-February, we want to begin the training, which should be at about an approximately 60-hour course designed by the Jersey City Medical Center and our colleagues in Israel. We'd actually like to get 100 plus volunteers on the streets by the summer, and continually to build. Now, some of them will have ambucycles, which are medically equipped motorcycles. These are motorcycles which, you see that siren right now? Mm-hmm. Like, that siren right now is probably stuck in traffic. Or it may have been from an ambulance stuck in traffic. If someone, yeah, it is. It's coming from an ambulance stuck in traffic. If that was a medically equipped motorcycle, it would not get stuck in traffic, and it could immediately get to the victim, and it would have everything on it, in a kitty in the back and in the seat, underneath the seat, needed to save a life. So we're going to have, to start, several medically equipped motorcycles, which is the photograph on bottom. Other people can respond on foot. If they don't live or work in a high density area, they can respond in their car. But the idea is whatever it takes, we want to get trained and equipped community-based emergency caregivers to victims in under 2 minutes, and to begin saving a lot of lives and ameliorating a lot of unnecessary suffering. So, so that's me and Paul. So if you, so basically what we really appreciate from you is two things. One, are there any individuals you know who might want to be volunteers, so we can notify them when the course is going to begin? And are there any institutions, any social groups, any churches that may have lots of people who would want to volunteer? We'd like to go and speak to them, explain what we just explained, and so hopefully we'll have well more than 100 people signing up for the course in February, and they can be deployed in July.
And of course, if you're a doctor or a EMS provider, they'll walk you through weaving through the process there. But it's kind of common sense that if you're in a high-rise building, as an example, and somebody has an issue on the 11th floor and the doctor's on the 4th floor, the 911 system, somebody that's certified, why should we not be including them in the response, knowing that they can just hit an elevator and respond to that person immediately, and just bridge the time between the 5 minutes that the call comes in to the actual ambulance arrives, which makes a world of difference. And I really do believe that when you look forward years, this is going to be common practice in cities throughout the world. And it's something done already in Israel, and it's something that we're fortunate enough to be the first of the cities in this country that are going to be leading the charge on.
Can I have some questions?
Absolutely.
Yes.
First, the idea is great. It's I'm very excited to see, But now, my concern is that level of the training, the people response, that's our concern.
Right.
Can't you explain what kind of level of the training they will? It's going to level of the EMT, or they have below, what I'm saying? So we like to have some. But idea-wise, if we worked in Israel, I'm probably work the most place. It's a great idea. I'm really excited to hear that. But that's our concern.
Absolutely. If you just give me 1 minute just to do a quick introduction on our end from the Medical Center.
From the Jersey City Medical Center.
Sorry about that. Just a quick 1 minute that I can give you on our end. I think everyone here knows how committed the Medical Center is to both using technology in order to improve the quality of care and then reducing response times. And so for us, this is the logical next step for us. You all may have heard about our application that we have, an iPhone app that's already out there called PulsePoint right now that you can download on your phone that will, anyone that is trained in CPR, if someone gets injured or sick in a public building, goes into cardiac arrest, it will notify someone who has been trained in CPR of that so that someone can get there to start CPR. This is really the next logical step for us. And to your point, the key here is making sure that, if we're going to expand this beyond cardiac arrest and kind of treating someone with CPR, and we're going to go into all sorts of life-threatening emergencies, we need to make sure that these individuals are properly trained, that they're properly screened, that they meet all of the standards of the Jersey City Medical Center. And so for us, as we're bringing these volunteers in, that's why we're starting so early. We know that we're going to need to get a lot of volunteers in, and we're going to have to screen them, we're going to have to vet them, we're going to have to make sure they're capable of doing this, and then we're going to have to provide them with upwards of 60 or 90 hours of training. It's not quite to the level of what an EMT is, but it's a lot more than basic first aid for sure. And we'll make sure that they have all of the equipment that's necessary, and they'll have the backing and support of the Jersey City Medical Center. So these volunteers will be working under the auspices of the physicians at the Medical Center. They'll get training, they'll get quality assurance, quality improvement. We'll be reviewing everything that they do in order to make sure sure that they meet the standards that we have, because that's the most important thing for the citizens, is making sure that we keep the same standard of care that we have.
See, when you say the proper training, I'd like to know a little more detailed information, what that means a proper training. That's what I'd like to know.
I guess he wants to know if they're gonna be BLS certified.
Sure, they will not be fully trained as EMTs, that's not our initial plan right now. It would be similar to the first responder type training, perhaps similar to like a first responder type training that the fire department or the police department has, perhaps a little bit more training than that. Basically it'll be things like basic first aid, oxygen administration, how to use a defibrillator, some basic medications and things. Pretty much everything that you would see on a basic life support ambulance, except that we can't carry them and take them to the hospital.
Yeah, it's just bridging the gap. They're still gonna deploy, same time frame, trying to beat 5 minutes, as we said earlier. It's just a matter of somebody arriving there to hand over to the ambulance somebody that's already started to get care.
And number two is that the liability issue. Liability issue. So now, where they gonna be, their liability gonna be fall? To the Jersey Medical Center, what individual volunteers?
That's a great question. We're still finalizing all the details, but the plan is that they would be volunteers at the medical center, so they would fall under our, the auspice of the medical center. They'll be equipped. For all intents and purposes, it would be just like the volunteers that we have in our hospital. So all of that type of liability insurance would be covered by the Jersey City Medical Center.
And New Jersey Good Samaritan law states that if someone attempts to save a life in good faith and without consideration, they're given liability from lawsuit, except in cases of gross negligence and intentional misconduct, which hopefully won't be an issue.
But some are, those things are probably not enough. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
I'd like to know, this is going to be throughout all of Jersey City? The volunteers are going to be placed throughout all of Jersey City?
Yeah.
Will suppose a first responder response on Central Avenue or something like
Can I
that?
say, it's not, the part of the conversation today is that we're going to be doing extensive outreach to get volunteers into the system. The system is going to be as effective as the volunteers we get in there. So my phone, right after I go through the training, I'll have the app, and I could let the medical center know whether I'm active or I'm inactive, basically. And they're going to ping you only if you're in the general area of that specific thing. So that if you can beat the ambulance there, they'll ping you, right? And they'll route you there. So it really comes down to, we need to make sure that we are getting volunteers from every area of the city. We are meeting on Wednesday. On Wednesday, we have a meeting with all the clergy, a very, very large group of clergy that'll be here on Wednesday to talk to them about this as well, to make sure that they're helping us get people engaged from their respective churches.
My concern was, where will they go, though? That was my concern. My concern was, if you pick that person up and you have someone in that area, where will they go? If the ambulance comes, where will he take the patient?
The closest hospital. That doesn't, so this person is merely bridging the gap. Once the ambulance arrives, Rob's team takes control of the situation. It is merely getting somebody on the scene that can administer first aid within 2 minutes.
Right, and operation, let's say that Paul was not in uniform but was a CBEC volunteer, there was a choking victim out there, he'd be back here in 15 minutes. Because he would go there, he would save a life, he'd be relieved by the professional forces, and then he'd be back having saved a life.
You asked for places. One thought that went through my head is schools, because you have, people manning the front desk, sitting there. That there's, I don't know.
No,
a lot of people kind of sitting around, like in front of, in the
That's actually,
offices.
it's a very important point because
That might be able to.
yeah, no, in Israel, we found, I remember I said to Eli Biro, found in Israel, I said, I bet doctors are a great population, particularly surgeons to start with. He said, in one respect, yes, because they're already trained. In the other respect, you can't just leave surgery and go treat a victim outside.
Right.
So someone who has the freedom to leave for 15 minutes is the ideal volunteer. So that's a great group to draw.
So we were going to reach out to the Hudson County Chamber of Commerce. We're going to reach out to, because of course in some of the larger businesses, respective churches, community groups, and most importantly, you guys could send over to us constituencies that you think that we should be speaking to make sure that they get a couple people in there. We want to get 100 volunteers by the summer is really the objective there. Engaged, trained, and out there. It would be really a terrific thing for the city.
And for us, it's also a great opportunity for us to mentor individuals that want to get into the industry. So, if there's younger groups of individuals that are, kind of trying to find their way, trying to figure out what professions they want to join, this is an opportunity for them to really kind of get some experience and determine if they want to make a full career out of it. So it's a good stepping stone.
On that note, is there age?
I imagine it'll be eight. It will. I don't know for sure. I don't have a final. I imagine it'll be 18, but I can't say for sure.
Yeah. Oh, me? Okay. Last question, really. It's a great idea, gives you some motivation for the people. But my last question is that some kind of qualification, if anybody interested volunteer, they able to join the program, or they have to do certain checkup, you know what I'm saying? This is a major concern is that we are urban city, heavily populated, even though, some case, what are they called, emergency situation, but if the unknown person knock the door, so.
They will be fully identified. They will be screened. We will do the background screenings and all of that thing, and they will be identified as working with the Jersey City Medical Center. So they'll have
One important thing, once they finish the course, this is one thing, they are provided all the equipment Rob touched on, not only via the ambulance, they're provided all of the equipment, defibrillators, oxygen, everything necessary outside of a bed. So literally, they're going to have a little suitcase that whether it's in their office, whether it's in the trunk of their car, that they can respond, and they have all the equipment to be effective immediately. So once they go through 60 hours of training and background checks and all that stuff to make sure, they'll feel pretty
I
comfortable.
think that this program make Jersey more safer. I think it's a great idea.
You know it's a good idea if you're agreeing.
Yeah, no, they have to. No, really, very exciting.
No money involved, that's right.
Crime scenes, gunshots, things like that.
yes. As we're screening, what's going to happen is, when the 911 call comes in, we'll do the same screening that we do with our ambulances. Just like we don't send an ambulance into a crime scene without making sure the police is there, we would not send an individual to that type of a scene. This would be strictly safe, medical, trauma, simple trauma, nowhere where someone would be in danger.
The technology is really amazing, and you could go, they could show you the app as well, send you the link for the app if you want to see how that's going to link in overall. There is a link also that Rob can provide, or I guess who's the point person on day-to-day? Okay, so it's that you could forward to your respective email list to make sure that people can sign up. It's real easy, and that'll give a little bit of background on the whole program overall.
So your identification when you go to a scene, you will be, Jersey City Medical Center uniform, volunteer, is that how it's going to stay?
Yes, so it'll be a partnership. We have not worked out, all the nuances of the logos and all of that stuff, but yeah, they will be identified in some sort of being affiliated with the Jersey City Medical Center.
Yeah, and in Israel you can see that they always have an orange vest. So they'll have civilian clothes underneath the vest because they're a meeting like this, but they'll have they put on the orange vest, which you can do very quickly. And
The orange vest is provided in that situation, in that little suitcase thing they have going on.
In case, just the images, every sentence counts.
Professional motorcycles, medical center.
It's totally given with private dollars.
Yeah.
Everything here is given with private dollars, which is really exciting, and it's great on so many fronts.
Very nice.
Beyond
oh, absolutely.
continued private dollars? Is
Yeah,
that?
absolutely.
Very nice.
Oh, thank you.
All right, great. Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
You gonna vote?
Oh, yes, sir. Pass this to Al Sullivan coming up behind you.
Folks, if we can settle in. Settle down.
Council members in the chair, we have Mr. Bob Summers. He's here to talk about the ordinance we tabled at the last meeting, the ordinance granting renewal of the municipal consent to Comcast of Jersey City LLC to construct, connect, operate, maintain cable system in the city of Jersey City. Mr. Sommers?
Thanks, Robert. Yeah. All right, so I believe the council's aware of what this issue is. It is the renewal that we have with Comcast. It does provide for some additional benefits to the city. And I'm happy to take any questions if the council has any.
Renewal, if we renew this contract the way it is right now, Comcast can change the channel 1 to whatever channel they want at any time.
That is 100% correct. They have the ability to do that under state law, and unfortunately for us as a city, we have no authority to override the state law and mandate anything different. With Corporation Counsel, we've tried to find some alternatives, and unfortunately there are none. It's their right under state law.
With that, because the reason why, if the seniors, how long you gonna notify them that, well, channel 1 is gonna be on channel 47, channel 56. You know, the senior, they have a issue with this, and I'll be honest, I have an issue with that. I know they're giving $200,000 to,
The question is, how long notification of the change in channel?
What they will do in following the law that totally ties our hands as a city is they will run for 3 months in advance a scroll on the bottom of the when they're on channel 1 saying on whatever the day is, JCTV will be on channel 88. Or they have not told us the channel specifically. They've told us the channel neighborhood, which will be in the high 80s to low 90s. And for 3 months after the channel has switched, they'll continue to run the crawl on the bottom of channel 1, saying if you're looking, some version of if you're looking for JCTV, it's now on channel 88. So they'll do it 3 months prior, 3 months after. They'll also do bill stuffers. They'll do some limited advertising as well.
I just want you to make a statement for us to hear right now, is that you have negotiated this contract to the best of your ability. We have squeezed it to the max, and there's really not much more we can do. And if we don't accept this contract, we really don't, you know, I need you to explain that part.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Yeah, honestly, that's a great word, stuck. Comcast, if the council does not approve this amendment, Comcast will take the franchise and move it into the state franchise. So Jersey City will have, to the extent we have rights now, we'll lose them. And we'll just be one of the other 200 communities that they serve statewide, and we'll have even fewer rights. So we were able to get $200,000 of new equipment for our studio upstairs in City Hall. They've agreed to maintain an internship program. That would go away. The $200,000 would go away. They've retained some responsibility for the public access channel. That would go away. They've also agreed to wire certain parts of City Hall. That would go away. I'm not going to tell you we got a great deal. I'm going to tell you we got the best possible deal we could get with a state law that ties two hands behind our back.
Yun, Osborne, Robert,
Can I just jump in one moment? I spoke to, this is my third go-round with this refranchising. I spoke to Karen Marlowe from the Office of Cable Television about this, and just as Bob indicated, they can walk away, leave Jersey City with nothing, go under the direct system. Verizon does nothing but pay us a franchise fee. And given Fios has penetrated Jersey City so much, it's basically doubled the amount of money we've been receiving from Comcast, which they're not very happy about. But if we don't approve this ordinance like this, everything that's on the table comes off the table, and they get what's called a direct certification from the Board of Public Utilities.
Councilman, did you have something?
I'm the first, okay. I thought the Kent was actually first, but, yeah, Kent, you were first, yeah.
I just had just wanted to super clarify. Regardless of what we do, we're losing Channel 1.
Yes.
I think that's an important statement. And I think that's really unfortunate, and I think everybody at the table knows that it's really unfortunate because it's a big branding opportunity. So I just wanted to state that and it's on the record. No
and
matter
to-
what we do, vote for it, vote against it, we lose Channel 1. So the second question I have is, does Verizon Fios have this channel? I know it's not on Channel 1, but
37.
is there any benefit from a city branding perspective of having the Fios channel and the Comcast channel match so that they could be branded similarly?
It's a great question, and we brought that up, and we were shut down. Precisely because of what Robert just said, because Comcast hates Fios. Fios is in essence, to them, an unregulated cable service that they have to pay the city for anyway. So they're going to do nothing that helps Fios's, that shows any interoperability between Fios and Comcast.
Violin for Comcast.
You don't see me running to their.
Yes. The last meeting we actually tabled it, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, because of table it, we got $200,000 actually additional support from the cable division, right? Comcast, I mean.
That was on the table.
That was what we had previously negotiated in this ordinance.
So now, concern is that very simple. I think more likely the council, Chico and she mentioned that we give them authorization to change the channel TV, the Jersey City channel, so often if they, anytime they want 60 days or 30 days, 90 days notice, the continue to change. We should be, the changing channel should be maximized, at least 15 years of term, so many times they only can change, maximum. We're gonna put some cap, other than that, next year, 90 days notice, they can change again, based on their benefit. So my feel like it's uncomfortable, over the 15 years contract, they can be changed 15 times.
Well, we did negotiate, the short answer to that question is yes, except for the fact that in this agreement, we negotiated, and it was the best that we could do, they guaranteed to keep it on whatever channel they're gonna move it to for 3 years. A minimum of 3 years. And that was not, they didn't want to do any. As a practical matter, after the 3 years, they can change it whenever they want, but at least we bought 3 years of consistency. And going back to what Councilwoman Osborne said, if the council votes this down, they're going to change it anyway, and then we lose the 3 years, the 3-year guarantee. It goes down to a no-day guarantee. They can change it as often as they want under the state law.
So now, next question is the 200, you just mentioned that 200 municipal government state in New Jersey belong to state franchise. The rest of the 350 municipal government, they individual franchise?
No. It's Comcast, and I'm with the Optimum, which is Cablevision, Time Warner. Well, no, DirecTV is not regulated. There's 3 cable different. When I said 200, that's an imprecise number. I don't know how many municipalities have Comcast franchises. They're the biggest cable company in the world. I mean, in the country.
This can't be 4B, because 4B is another one.
No. It was 4B on the last agenda.
Last agenda.
It's the last item on our tabled agenda. It's City Ordinance 14-155. It's on our, if you just turn your agenda over, it's the only thing on the last page of the tabled agenda, item 11H.
About end of day, take or leave, we got no choice.
Unfortunately, you're right.
So, in other words, shut up, just passed. Simple.
I respectfully request that the council vote yes on this.
Just about end of day.
Councilperson Waterman.
Based on what you told us, there's nothing we can do because of the state. Now, is there any way that we can ever do a resolution or something to the state?
Asking them to change the law?
I mean, why not?
We can
I
certainly
mean,
ask
the
them to
reason
change the
why,
law.
because now he's stuck at least for 3 years, based on the changing of the channel. By that time, okay, because this contract is for how long, how many years? 15 years, right. By
Well,
that time,
actually, it's only 12 years prospective because we're 3 years into the 15-year cycle.
Oh, actually,
Okay.
it's a very good point. So we're,
right.
So that's a good point.
So now, we know they don't give good service, and they're not gonna give us none when the contract is up. So now, shouldn't we be looking ahead to see what we can do as a municipality to deal with it statewide?
Absolutely.
I mean, because we can't do nothing. This is based what we're saying, and this is always gonna come around, and they never deliver good service to us. Never. So what we gonna do?
Can I just say that where we're going to be moved to isn't likely to be prime real estate in the lineup? Number one is prime real estate for them because a lot of TVs default to Channel 1 and they get their pay-per-views and all the things that they want to sell on top of what they normally get from their customers. But where they are going to move us is likely not to be valuable real estate. We're likely to be there for a good long time.
You're putting us in the worst
Yeah,
spot to begin
yeah,
with.
yeah.
Well,
Everyday language.
no, actually, I'm not here to defend Comcast, but if given where they're moving us, there are a couple of other, Fox is there, I think CNN Headline News or something, we're in a neighborhood of a couple of other news stations. Yeah,
Is good.
Who's gonna check?
And this is all the Board of Public Utilities.
it's regulated by the State Board of Public Utilities under a law that the legislature and previous governors, in their wisdom, passed.
So we need a friend in the governor's office to be able to change things at the Board of Public Utilities.
You never know.
by that time that 3-year period is up, who knows?
That's right, you never know. But that should be something it should be conversation. Yeah. Because we really not satisfied with their service.
about lobbying.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
change,
We have no choice right now, but I know
Right.
I do, so.
See, we got no choice, but we hate to title ourselves, no choice in another 12 years. That's the, I think, all the members of the council people is frustrating, you know what I'm saying?
Council members, this would have been decided by the prior council if not for the TV1 issue. This is why it has bridged over to this council. We did all of the statutory stuff that's necessary before the introduction of the ordinance in the last administration. And that was the sticking point, the branding of Channel 1. But if everything comes off the table and they go for direct certification,
We done.
what we have in here is lost.
Anyway, so we'll address that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good job, Bob.
While we're here, I just want to ask you something. How did the meeting go with the Bowies Theater?
Fine.
Let's not do that now.
It's good.
No. This is a place where you bring up discussions when you have all 9 people here. And it's just a simple question. It's not, doesn't matter whether it's on the schedule or not. I mean, I'm not going to see you probably. I just want to know how it went. That's all.
It went fine. More to come.
He's here. Might as well answer the question.
Yeah.
I did.
All right, done?
Good. Well, I got a lot more questions coming up, too. No, not for him, not for Bob.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Bob. Before we proceed, this will be our council meeting before Martin Luther King Day. So our secretary was kind enough to put some images, and I wanted to give the floor over to Councilperson Coleman, who has an announcement about MLK.
I just wanted to announce to the council and to everyone that's here that there'll be a Martin Luther King Jr. program at the Miller Branch Library on Bergen Avenue, July, ooh, that's where I want to be, January 17th from 8 to 9. So it's a free program and everyone's invited. Hope to see you there.
I know that Frank Kajewski will join me. Every time we see the iconic I Have a Dream speech, over the right behind Martin Luther King's right shoulder is a former Jersey City police officer by the name of Charlie Jackson. So every time you see that iconic "I Have a Dream" speech, Jersey City is right behind him. Charlie Jackson.
There's two police officers in there, the fellow standing.
Well, Charlie Jackson, he's right behind his right shoulder. Charlie Jackson.
He told me he manipulated himself, you know, he was on his left and he made sure he got to the right.
Every time I see it, I say, there's Charlie Jackson. Charlie Jackson's gone 20 years.
Diana?
Sure. Well, that might bring us developers.
We started right from the top, we can get her anyway. Starting from the top. 3A is an ordinance authorizing a 35-year tax exemption for a low-income affordable housing project located at 561 Montgomery Street to be constructed by Montgomery Gardens Phase 1 Urban Renewal Associates LP, a qualified housing sponsor under the New Jersey Mortgage Housing Finance Agency law.
Low income, Rich.
Diane Jeffries.
Here with,
Albert's here, Joel Silver of Michael's Development, and his attorney Chuck Harrington, so I'm just going to let them
Okay.
do their presentation.
Thank you, members of the council. For the record, Charles Harrington of Connell Foley. I'm here on behalf of my client, the Michael's Development Company. The application before you on this ordinance is for a request for a tax exemption. It's pursuant to the HMFA agency law, not the long-term exemption law. It is for a term of 35 years. That is because it's coterminous with the proposed mortgage for the funding of the project. I'll give you an overview, of the project. Mr. Silver is here, who can kind of give you the details of it, because he knows this is a very specialized area. The applicant is applying for tax credits through the Sandy program, Hurricane Sandy Fund, for the restoration of multifamily housing within the state. It is a competitive program. We do have site plan approval from the planning board, but a tax abatement related to the project is very important to be competitive to try to achieve this funding. The project includes 126 residential units. Of that, 116 will be affordable units and 10 will be market rate. This is a project, I'm sure that most of the councils, not all the councils, are aware of the Catherine Todd Senior Housing Project that was just started recently. These are the buildings behind it. There will be 3 buildings that will be demolished. Correct, yes, replacing Montgomery Gardens. So this is a project that has kind of been in planning for some time, and it's a project that the Housing Authority and Michael's Development Company, which has done Lafayette Gardens, and they're also doing the senior housing program, are very excited about. So it's the next phase, and then there are multiple phases after that. So to bring, it's a new, vibrant housing that replaces the old towers that are outdated.
Right this minute, the projects is there, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And we get no taxes for that, is that correct? In other words, no taxes have been paid since the Montgomery Gardens was built on that property, and as of today, that it's on there, we get no taxes, is that correct?
That's absolutely correct.
So you're proposing a 35-year tax abatement to the current rate taxes, which means you will be paying some taxes, is that correct?
Yes, this project, yep.
I'm just trying to clear up about a 35-year tax abatement. It's a tax abatement, but it's putting taxes into the city revenue where there was no taxes being paid at all. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
So this project will generate approximately $123,000 a year in an annual service charge, whereas Councilwoman is correct. Under the housing projects, under the Jersey City Housing Authority, it historically has generated zero.
Can I? Yeah. I'd like to add to what the Councilwoman Diane Cloran said that present time, we have no revenue for the tax revenue in that side. We understand. So if we build, we're gonna get some dollars we're gonna get as a tax revenue. Great news. But let's put it this way then. If we leave that space empty, we actually better shape than what we collect as annual service charge. Reason is that the municipal service costs in their location, actually what you guys pay for annual service charge is not even close to cover. City of Jersey City have to be, I hate to say that they're subsidized, but costs us taxpayer almost $500,000 per year. You know that. So now, listen to me. So if you leave empty, we have not created any municipal service, any cost of municipal service. But minute you guys build, actually gonna come into City of Jersey City, almost $500,000, the municipal service, we have to subsidize that area. So I just make clear that part of it, okay? You understand? So actually, if you look at it non by itself, leave the space empty, in the future we can make something other development, something you guys can pay full tax. So we get the full revenue.
That's not 100% true.
No.
Because as a facility right now, one, there are buildings on the facility that are still being used, a small portion of it, and so there's an impact for that. Plus, securing that site has an impact on our budget. One of the things we look at for its impact is police and fire. Whether there's something there or not, whether it's vacant or not, that cost is still borne by the city, because police still have to respond if something happens on the site, and the fire department has to respond if something happens on the site. And if the buildings are empty and vacant, it's even more of a risk for us, because squatters are gonna be in there, these type.
I'm just saying what you said. But their location, yes, we need to, we gotta do something about their location. Location, I support you 100%. They come as a project is great, you know. So now, my next question is that, oh, you gonna do somebody else? Then I'll do that.
Councilman
Yes.
you have a question? Yeah, I just want to ask, Chuck, where did you come up with 35 years? Or who came up, I can't believe 35 years. I can see 20 years, but 35 years.
It's tied to funding and a mortgage with HUD.
I wouldn't care if FHA or who it is. In other words, the taxpayers of Jersey City are getting screwed again. 35 years, come on. That is absolutely ridiculous.
That is the actually, you know.
Well, just to clarify, the HMFA statute, which is what this abatement is being applied under, requires the abatement to be, the term to be coterminous with the mortgage, so.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, if you took this property and you built 126 units, he's charging $1,000 a month rent, I think, for a one family, something?
No,
One
it's
apartment?
subsidized based.
What happens is that,
What is your name, sir?
Joel Silver, Michael's Development Company.
Joel.
Joel, J-O-E-L, S-I-L-V-E-R. I will let Joan Pollock add to my response, but this is replacement housing for the residents that lived in Montgomery. We've received funding, well, the Housing Authority has received funding from the Rental Assistance Demonstration Program that allows 116 of those residents, 116 households pay 30% of their income. The federal government pays the subsidy in addition to that, which leads to the rents in the application, which range from $1,000 to $1,500, which allows us to service the mortgage.
Why are we tearing down solid brick buildings then to put up something else?
Those projects don't work.
And what we can do.
It's just saying, they're the same people, it's the same thing. You just tearing down a building, putting down a building.
No, Councilman Ramchal, and then back to Councilman.
My question is simple. How much is the project cost? What's the project cost?
The project, total project cost is about $40 million.
40 million. Is it PLA?
No, there's no. Affordable housing.
Affordable housing.
It was, PLA would be much.
Can you show us what you're going to replace those buildings with?
Beautiful.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, beautiful.
It's beautiful.
From away from the high rise.
That creates structures.
You ever see New Jack City?
This is for affordable units anyway. These were low-income housings from the beginning.
Right.
Yeah.
So all we do,
It's affordable. No, we understand, but you know, Can I ask you, before we proceed, can I ask you two questions? They say 116 units, right? 58 units, actually 50% on the county medium income. We build in Jersey City. Actually, Hudson County medium income is higher than Jersey City, as I understand. Do you have any specific reason why you guys use that their county median income level, other than Jersey City?
First, let me back up and say this is an application to the Housing Finance Agency for Hurricane Sandy funds.
Okay.
They set the rules, and they say that anything that we apply for Hurricane Sandy funds for, and by the way, the Housing Authority and we, in the last Hurricane Sandy round, got 3 of the Hurricane Sandy awards for Jersey City. All of those developments are under construction today. Their rule is 1/2 of the affordable units be available to people at 50% of Hudson County median, 1/2 at over 50%. So 1/2 under, 1/2 over. So it's their rules.
The federal case states are county medium income, other than Jersey City.
And all of the 116 units go towards the Jersey City Housing Authority's obligation to provide affordable housing.
So the normal purpose of this is that it is replacement housing, it's affordable housing. It's not a piece of property that's going to be available on the open market. HUD is not going to let the housing authority sell it to an individual developer. This is, it's a primary goal. So, and it's similar to what they did on Duncan Avenue, that the housing down there. It's a newer model. It's a better model. So
we've been working with the Housing Authority for 12 years on Lafayette Gardens. Lafayette Gardens has been completely replaced, and we are in our final phase. If I could hand it to the architect just for a second, this brings all the streets into Montgomery, so it's no longer a project, ladies and gentlemen.
It's a neighborhood.
It's a neighborhood.
That's what we need to
So this,
do that now?
yeah.
Sure.
Well, introduce yourself
Okay,
first.
my name is Alexander
Just one
Morris.
second, Councilman
I just want to comment on something that Richie said, he's gone, about the buildings being there for a long time. Now, from my background in policing and knowledge of environmental design, I mean, there's a big school of building and constructing for, environmental design as far as crime is concerned. If you were going to build new buildings in that area, you would never build the buildings that are currently there now.
That's true.
I mean, the egress and everything else that goes along with it, the corridors and all, are really poorly designed for security purposes. So from what we've been seeing as we're going along with the new construction where these buildings are being taken down is a totally different type of building and a type of area. It's really much better. Much better.
It really is.
Yeah.
It is. They're going to actually make streets in between it, so there's no longer a culture gathering area in the heart of the projects, because they're going to be streets in and out. So it's no longer going to look like a project. It's going to look like a community, like a neighborhood. I think that's really great. You guys did that. Who's going to name the streets?
All right, I think he wants to present on
Then we can talk about what is your name? My name is Alexander Morris. I'm an architect with Wallace Robertson Todd Architects in Philadelphia. We are also the architects and planners for Lafayette Gardens Home 6. Just to give some context. And we did the rehab design of Catherine Todd. So I'm going to give everybody.
Give him his attention.
Okay, if I could give everybody just a quick overview. This is the Catherine Todd building. This is building 1 of the Montgomery Gardens site, which is being rehabbed currently. It's currently under construction. We're proposing to tear down 3 more buildings to build phase 1, which is building C, D, E, and F. In future phases, there will also be a building B with mixed use on Montgomery Avenue, or on Montgomery Street. And there will also be 3 more buildings in a future phase, and a central recreational circle that will be like a focal point for the site. As Mr. Silver pointed out, we are breaking up the super block of that site. There will be a right-in, right-out boulevard entry off of Montgomery Street and 2 one-way streets, new streets A and B, that will go one way from Florence to Cornellison this way, and then one way from Cornellison back to Florence this way, with a circle that runs in a counterclockwise direction. Contrary to what's there today at Montgomery Gardens, no one in the new site will live higher than 4 stories above grade, so there won't be any 10-story towers. There will be no elevator lobbies.
Everyone on the ground floor will have their own entrance with their own front stoop on the street, and folks who live upstairs will have common entries, of which only 5 units will be served, 5 to 6 units will be served off of one stairway. So we are employing what's called defensible space design, which is what you were referring to. Basically turning this community, which is currently a campus public housing block designed and conceived back in the 1950s, into a traditional neighborhood. So it will function and look like a lot of other neighborhoods in Jersey City in the older parts of town. And that's also what we've done in Lafayette Gardens, as folks now who are familiar. Thank you.
Oh, I have my question.
Councilperson.
Who's gonna name the streets?
Oh.
Do I, as the councilwoman, get any input? I just wanted to know.
I'm with the Jersey City Housing Authority. Traditionally, we have gone to the residents to solicit names, but we will take names from just about anyone who has an interest in the neighborhood and in the history of Montgomery Gardens. But any name gets vetted by the residents because many have been there a very long time. And as was alluded to, this particular property is deed restricted by the federal government, and with Montgomery Gardens, we have an absolute one-for-one replacement requirement. So for every unit of low-income housing we lose on this site through demolition, we must replace it. So this does give the city an opportunity. Since 1953, the city has not collected taxes on this property. So at least the city will begin to not only have a nice, vibrant neighborhood, replace towers that are functionally and physically obsolete, and have been a source of anguish for residents because it stigmatized them, but they will also be getting a pilot payment for the first time. So, thank you.
It's going to make that area make a big difference, you know. So, you know, it's a great idea, great project, you know. I hope everything come out good.
And the additional phase,
New Year's resolution.
the additional phases are also all affordable?
They're mixed. I mean,
Mixed.
Mixed, much like this. You know, everything that the Jersey City Housing Authority has done is mixed. I mean, the Caucus Development Company is kind of the granddaddy of affordable housing across the country. We've been doing this since 1973, and we go from St. Croix to Hawaii. The Hope 6 program, which was the predecessor of this program, was to create mixed income housing. Probably, we've done 22 Hope 6 projects across the country. Jersey City's probably the best. Why? Because at Lafayette, we have people paying 30% of their income next to people who are paying somewhere between $800 and $1,200 a month, which for affordable units, next to people who are paying market rate of $1,800 to $2,000. Exactly the same facilities. They don't care that they are living in a mixed income community because Jersey City is where they want to be. And so Jersey City, when they designed the Hope 6 program and programs like it, and mixed income housing programs, places like Jersey City is where it worked because all the incomes mix. So mostly it's going to be for the existing Montgomery residents, but in every phase we will have market rate units.
What did you think you said, 10% or something?
10 units in this one, 106.
So fair market.
Yes.
right, and the annual service charge is $143,000 projected. I didn't include the market rate earlier.
I know Housing Authority owns this property, but when it comes to naming the street, and I know you guys will have the right to do it, I just wish that y'all would consider the city itself, because we have problem with names, and it becomes a problem for us. So we would just please take that in consideration. We would really appreciate that.
Yeah, but
Look, but we got a Park Avenue Park now.
the council,
When they vacate.
When they dedicate, yeah.
When they vacate, but right now they have that.
right,
We
but
would prefer that you
Yes.
did it right up front.
yeah,
before you
right.
make
many
it.
people put a moniker on a street before it comes
Right.
down to the division at site plan and what have you. So
We have problems.
we have a menu of names to choose from. Just contact my office, Charles, and we'll tell you.
It's for emergency calls as well.
Thank you.
No, not till I'm dead.
You said there's a few residents still living in the old, but how many residents?
About 50 families primarily seniors who are waiting on-site to move into
the Catherine
Catherine
Todd.
Todd.
Okay. Now, at its heyday, how many residents lived in the entire,
434.
and when you're all built out, how many affordable?
Probably about, on-site, there'll probably be about 250. And then we will
Now,
also.
back to where those 400 folks are? Is that-
Yes, we have huge databases, and we update it monthly on where everyone is. That's a federal requirement that we can keep track of everyone.
And you will have to eventually build all 400 plus units.
We will have to rebuild one-for-one replacement.
Can I? They're gonna have a 2,400 square feet community service, just community space, right?
Yeah.
So what is the function of the community space in 2,400 square feet? It's like more like a game rooms or playroom, or it's like a cafeteria?
facility, computer learning center, large community meeting room for resident services,
Gym.
fitness room.
Very nice. There's also provision in the operating budget for a social service provision, so social services will also be provided in the community room.
Each of the new developments, Lafayette and at Catherine, and at this, have a half-time social services coordinator, as well as full-time property management, full-time janitorial staff.
You know, actually, this is the way I like to person myself dream about it, because if you rich people put you one location, poor is another location, actually wrong place. The income, mixed income together, you know, it's make us community healthier. Actually, great idea, the way you describe Jersey City, I really appreciate it. We're a great city, you know, really.
And thank you, Patricia, I got your email, thank you for the contact person for each one of the developments, thank you for that. And thank you for taking care of that lady before I
Council President,
got to
can I
contact.
ask just one more question? How you select the, you know, people, residents? Because I like to know, because, you know, once you're done, all the project to finish that, so many people gonna apply for the, the rooms, what you called, whatever things have done. Can't you explain to us, not only council people and people of Jersey City, all who are watching this one, would you explain to what kind of processing to, get the room?
There will be a public advertisement when applications are available, and there will be a public application process. Residents who lived at Montgomery Gardens and were required to relocate will have the absolute first preference to come back.
Okay, then how many people? We talking about 116 units.
Yeah.
How many the units have to be replaced, so it's now 116.
Well, we don't know who, until folks apply, we will not know how many folks from Montgomery want to come back, because it is their choice.
So they are the first choice?
They get the
Okay.
first choice, and then it's open to residents of Jersey City.
Okay, so now, they have only, let's put in that there are 50 units left, but 500 people actually apply for that. And the qualification by income level is all qualified. Then how would you do? First come, first served?
First come, first served. We date and timestamp all the applications.
I think that that's what is one of the issues in my concern. I see that in New York City, instead of to make the people to rush to go to apply, stamp and understand the line, all day, I think
What we typically do, I'm sorry to interrupt, but to try to ameliorate that situation is that we have applications available over usually at least a week period, and then we have a date by which people cannot submit their application before that date. So let's say that you could get the application on January 15th. On the application, it says you cannot mail it until January 30th. So if you pick it up on January 15th or January 16th or January 17th, it doesn't matter, because you can't mail it until January 30th. And we advertise that, and we tell people about that ahead of time, so there's no need to be first in line to pick up the application.
But
Because
no.
there's a delay before you're allowed to submit it.
Yes, we understand. You know what,
You can't
actually?
do it in person.
Can we talk about
You know,
the other preferences?
excuse me?
They'll have to
See,
be there.
that's my concern. All the people looking for affordable housing unit, they're not healthy, they're not actually ready to run, all the documentation not ready, you know what I'm saying? So actually that gives a disadvantage if people have some kind of issue, you know what I'm saying? So now, my things, I see that there another case in New York City, what they do, they give enough time to people apply, you know what I'm saying? And without rush, and the people really need the affordable housing units, but some documentation is missing, so misplaced so and so. We gotta give enough time to let them, without rush, put in everybody, and they're lottery. You know what I'm saying? They're lottery, so it's fair. Even they say when God cannot do some kind of make a phone call, they're lottery, so without processing it, that there are hassles or rushes, some kind of things we should be considered. You know what I'm saying? Because not everybody 20 years or 30 years are ready for, you know what I'm saying? So we should give them people who has a problem and issue. You know what I'm saying?
We do not require people to pick up an application in person. They may call, we always provide a number, they call and we can mail them an application. And we don't require documents other than the application itself at time of application, to try to keep it as simple for folks. We also have people on hand, so if somebody picks up an application in person and they need assistance with filling it out, we have people available to help them fill it out.
Yes, so that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Assistant, we need a manpower to do that. Mailing, we great, mailing system in the United States.
Okay.
But we cannot. Listen, let me finish it. We not mail is close to.
We can drag this out long enough.
No, mail.
How about that?
No, this is an issue to the people who are looking for affordable housing, and the people right to know that how the process works.
You made your point for a good long time.
Well, because we explained it, but.
Monopolize this conversation again. Please, can we move on?
Answer what I'm looking for.
Shut it down, Councilman.
What do you mean shut it down?
Shut it down.
Thank you, Council President.
Oh, God.
I've said this before, I've told you about this repeatedly. You monopolize the conversation, no one else gets a word in, and you think it's your own show. Please, enough.
What do you mean own show?
Enough.
I'm asking what the people wanted to know, because that's why the people all the time ask
Asked
us.
and answered. And you've made your point like 10 times over. It's like, come on, give us a break. All of us.
I'm not,
including the viewing public.
No, I'm not happy with your answer, the way processing.
Everyone else is satisfied with the response. You're the only one who sits there.
The point, Councilman, is we're not going to change the process here tonight. If you have comments, feel free to get those comments to them. All right?
Okay. Thank you. It's not even, so it's right.
Okay, why don't we just keep it going from the top?
So I just want to take that vision with me.
Oh, okay, fine. We got Bob Baker. See Bob Baker? Margaret. Margaret. Thank you so much. Bob's on the agenda. Late item, so let's do Baker. Whoever you want, Council President. Just call him. We're here the same amount of time, no matter who goes when. All right, let's just wrap it up.
Bob's coming up.
Bob Baker is here from Police Fiscal. We're gonna find it for him. All right, well, we have
10H.
10H is an emergency contract to Eaton Corporation for an uninterruptible power source system equipment replacement because of a power failure that we're coming up on the first anniversary of. So this is for Bishop Street or? For Bishop Street. Okay. What's our choice there?
What had happened is on February 4th, we had a major failure at Bishop Street, as you're all aware, with the UPS system. That evening, I generated an emergency requisition for the replacement of the batteries. Was on the phone with Peter Fogato of purchasing. The next day, we got a purchase order number, which we needed to get the batteries delivered ASAP. We issued the PO to the company. The batteries were delivered. 3 days later, the system was back online. The emergency resolution is prepared by purchasing department because it was an emergency declaration. So I provided purchasing with all the forms that they needed. The director signed, Director Shea signed an emergency declaration so we could move on. As time went on, in October, I needed some questions answered on the maintenance agreement that we had, and I was notified when I called the company that the bill was still remained unpaid. So I was upset as to why from February to October, you never notified us of non-payment. And we found out that the emails were all being sent to police IT. So we technically, the director, Zija and myself, never saw the billing. So in October, we scrambled with purchasing to get the bill paid. On November 25th, I received, which I have all the documentation here, an email from Gene that the resolution was passed and that all they needed was an updated pay-to-play forms. So now we played back and forth cat and mouse game with the Eaton Corporation to get their fiscal office and their treasury department to complete all the pay-to-play forms so we can go on. So we assumed in November this was paid. Last week, I was notified by Pat Vega to do the resolution cover sheet. So we were flabbergasted as to how this now moved into this upcoming meeting. We thought this was over and paid.
Resolution, I think in November or December, we did that.
November 25th.
Yes.
That's why I'm confused as to why it's on this.
That's what I'm saying, I was confused myself. Was someone look into this? Is there something to resolve here, or is this,
The batteries are paid for.
Right.
Yes.
So what's this resolution for?
According to Gene Williams, on November 25th, she said, "This is a follow-up regarding the pending documents for Eaton Corp. The resolution was passed at the November 25th, 2014 council meeting ratifying the contract." Mhm.
See, at the time, when I went to my issues that maintenance
Service contract was
Yes.
a role, you know,
Yes.
because instead of they have a maintenance schedule to follow the maintenance schedule, what they did that City of Jersey have to request the maintenance. When we pay $50,000, almost $50,000 maintenance, they should come up based on their schedule, they should come up service. If we not call the maintenance in 90 days, they look at it as they fulfilled their maintenance service. So actually, there was issue was that I bring up the last month, I think in November, you know what I'm saying? I don't know, I scratched my head, why this back to us again? It's a done.
Bob's gonna look into it.
So it might be pulled from.
Maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll check with purchasing tomorrow, see why this is here today. It sounds like we'll probably be pulling it before Wednesday.
do you have another item? Anything else?
No, that's it.
Just grants for police, there's no contracts or anything for police, so it's nothing I think we have to hold Mr. Baker hostage for.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Good one. Take care.
Which item is yours, Margaret?
There's quite a few.
She's here for a lot of grant things.
Yes, there are several grant applications. I think there's at least one memo of understanding, and then there's the contract with Garden State Episcopal, which
It's
I'd like to
Margaret
start
DeVico?
with.
DeVico.
DeVico, D-E-V-I-C-O.
What we starting with?
Why don't we start?
J is the first one, yes. So 10J. These are all resolutions from the Department of Health and Human Services. I'm here on behalf of Director Flanagan, who is just returning from a weekend out of state. So she couldn't be here
Yeah,
today.
council members, resolutions J is an
J,
extension of an agreement between Share Our Strength SOS and the Department of Health and Human Services for cooking matters at the store program. K is authorizing the Office of Centralized Grants and Community Partnership to apply for grants from Share Our Strength for the Cooking for Matters at the Store program. L is authorizing the Office of Centralized Grants and Community Partnership to apply for funds from Share Our Strength for their No Kid Hungry Social Innovation Fund Grant Program. M is a resolution authorizing the Office of Centralized Grants and Community Partnership to apply for funds from the Build Health Challenge Grant Program. And N is an extension of a grant agreement between the city and the county for the Jersey City Municipal Alliance.
And O as well.
And O also is for the Robert Wood Johnson New Jersey Health Initiative Program. So we have a nice stretch from
And
J.
Z.
Well, we'll get there.
Okay.
Z is a late item. We're going from J all the way through O. J through O.
Okay. Should I just
Yeah, go
quickly
ahead.
explain? Okay, so 10J, this is simply extending the agreement that's already existing between the Department of Health and Human Services and Share Our Strength, which is a national nonprofit. We've been partnered with them for about a year now. And we're through that partnership, we've been able to administer the Cooking Matters at the Store program, where we lead Jersey City residents on healthy food shopping tours of local supermarkets. So we've been doing that at the Extra Supermarket at the Hub, the Seatown in Journal Square. I believe there's one on, I can't remember off the top of my head. I know we've been doing the ShopRite on Marin downtown, and then there's one on Bergen Avenue. I'm not sure where. So this is just simply extending the existing agreement so we can continue to administer that program, because we still have unused grant dollars from them from last year. So we can continue to do that.
Anything in the Heights?
Right.
There,
Let me get there first.
I think, yeah, I want to say no, but we've been working to try to, access as many communities as possible.
And Fine Fair coming up by me. So
Fine Fair,
That's
absolutely.
right, west side, yeah.
West side, so.
That'd be a great addition to
Yeah.
every Fine Fair.
Yep.
That's true.
Fine Fair, yeah. Please, send them, to give you all the information.
Oh, yeah, I'll make a note of that.
So send me an email, I'll give you all the information, all right?
Okay.
Any questions?
And actually,
Jay?
Fine Fair, and then new Med Food is gonna be Bravo, so it's two supermarket right there.
No questions? Next item, 10K?
So this is allowing the Department of Health and Human Services to apply for additional funds so we can continue to administer Cooking Matters at the Store going into the new year. We have a limited amount of unspent funds from last year. It's been successful. We want to keep doing it, so we're applying for an additional $40,000, and all of those dollars will go directly to the residents who participate in the program.
How many people participate? I'm just curious.
At this point, between 3,000 and 4,000. I don't know the exact number.
Good.
Good, yeah. Next.
L, resolution authorizing the Grants Department to apply for, once again, this is with Share Our Strength, but this is the No Kid Hungry Social Innovation Fund grant. This would actually allow the Jersey City Department of Health and Human Services to bring on a volunteer through AmeriCorps Vista. Vista is the Volunteers in Service to America, and that would allow us to actively explore more ways that we can work towards eliminating childhood hunger in Jersey City through the use of that volunteer. Yeah, we're really excited about that, and we hope we get it. And Share Our Strength actually approached us about applying for this particular grant because they knew how successful the Cooking Matters program had been. So that's one that the director very proactively applied for. Yes, we should be, yes. Yeah, it's designed to function that way. At 10M, a resolution authorizing the Grants Department to apply for the Build Health Challenge program. This is a federal It's a federal grant program, and Robert Wood Johnson is a partner in that. So the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation had actually reached out to us to apply to this. And this it's a 2-year program, so we're applying for the first phase, which is over the course of 1 year. It's a planning grant that would require the Department of Health and Human Services to partner with other local organizations, which is something we're already doing, in order to develop a strategy to improve certain health deficiencies that exist specifically within Jersey City. So this is designed to allow us to develop a plan to help achieve better public health outcomes related to our community in general. So that's going to be things like asthma, which is a problem among youth in Jersey City, and then food access, which is something that the director of the health department is very into. So that's a grant that we thought would be useful for the Department of Health and Human Services. And if the plan that we develop over the course of the first year is comprehensive and good and we get it all done, then the second phase of that would be additional grant dollars in order to implement the plan that we spent the first year developing. So it's a two-parter. This grant didn't require us on the application to name specific partners. There's another grant that we applied to where it's like a very established partnership. But just going in order, 10N, resolution authorizing the extension of the partnership that we have existing with the Jersey City Municipal Alliance. This is a partnership that the Department of Health and Human Services has had with it's part of the Governor's Council on Prevention of Alcoholism and Drug Abuse. It's been in existence since 1991, so it's the same as we've done every year. We get some money from the County Department of Health and Human Services that they get from the Governor's Council, and then they disperse it to cities within the county. So Jersey City got some money. We're obligated to match those funds where there's a small cash match, and then the rest is an in-kind match. And the Municipal Alliance has been doing all sorts of drug prevention programming throughout the city of Jersey City, as well as health programming as well. I know they do $2 Zumba classes at the Ethical Community Charter School. I've been to them, they're great. So that's just one example of some of the work the Municipal Alliance does. Paul Steffens is the chair of that. If anybody knows Paul, he's the one that's been running this. You know, I'm not sure. I know that there is, increased drug and alcohol abuse among returning veterans. I don't see why not. I don't know if there's specific outreach initiatives, but I would be happy to ask Paul Steffens about that, sure. Okay. 10-0, so this is another grant resolution. We'd like to apply for grants, and this is Robert Wood Johnson Foundation grant. It's entirely funded through them. It's specific to the state of New Jersey, and it's the Health Initiative Grant Program. So this grant program is really interesting because it requires participating municipalities or groups who apply to form 5-member partnerships and designate a coach to coach the partnership through it. It's similar to the Build Health Challenge in that it's a 2-year grant. There's a planning year and then an implementation year. The 5 partners that the City of Jersey City has identified to work on this grant are the Department of Health and Human Services, the Jersey City Medical Center, the New Jersey City University, the Housing Authority, and I'm going to forget the last one. Yes, well, I'm sorry, what was it? Yes, Parks Coalition, excellent. And then we have somebody who we'd like to ask to be the coach. I don't know if we've done that yet, so I don't want to be throwing that name around. Oh, it is? Okay, it's Michelle Massey. Okay, yeah. So I haven't reread through all of these. I know that so we've asked Michelle Massey to be the coach of those 5 partners within the coalition. And then if we get that grant, then all the each of the 5 members and the coach would go to a training down in Princeton to learn about how, what the plan should look like as we get together and develop, and then what the coach's specific duties are as far as keeping the coalition members motivated. So we thought this was a really interesting grant opportunity, so we'd like to apply. And the last one is 10Z, which is the final.
We got that today, council members. You received it. It's a resolution awarding a contract to Garden State Episcopal Community Development Corporation to provide coordinating services for the City of Jersey City Department of Health and Human Services Homelessness Prevention Program.
So this is something that we had hoped to get onto the agenda in December, but we managed to get it on now, which is great. We're very excited about it. The County Department of Health and Human Services had traditionally been responsible for a lot of the services that typically would be required of people who are at risk for homelessness or are currently homeless. And they knew they weren't doing a great job. A lot of time there was this piecemeal sort of implementation going on between the police, the Jersey City Police, the Port Authority Police, the Jersey City Medical Center, other local hospitals, and then, if they got referred to the Department of Health, the County Department of Health and Human Services, that people would just wind up in all these different places, and there was no continuum of care to sort of carry people through the process and make sure they were accessing help at every point where they had a need, because everybody's needs are different. Everybody has a different reason for falling on hard times and, need different kinds of help getting through it. So Garden State Episcopal, or the County Department of Health and Human Services put out an RFP for agencies to provide this continuum of care for people who are homeless or at risk of being homeless, and Garden State Episcopal won that grant. One of the conditions of being awarded that was that the municipalities that make up Hudson County would be obligated to contract with Garden State Episcopal and help fund the outreach and relief work that they're doing with the homeless throughout Hudson County. Most of the homeless population in Hudson County is concentrated in Jersey City, so we're going to be providing them $100,000 in cash to help make sure they can carry out their the obligations of their contract with the county, and an additional $65,000 in kind of the service with the services of a public health nurse already employed by the Department of Health and Human Services, and for 20 hours a week will go to wherever he or she is needed in order to carry out nursing functions in order to help Garden State Episcopal. I know, it's a lot. Right. Right, so there's actually, Garden State Episcopal has their own office, and then there's also multiple partner agencies that the county has been working with. There's actually a Hudson County Alliance to End Homelessness. We meet every month. I sit in on those meetings, so there's different groups. There's veterans outreach groups, there's families and HIV positive youth, and so there's all these different agencies that the county is already working with. And Garden State Episcopal will be able to effectively sort of funnel people to where they can get the best help for them. There is an office that is either on the verge of opening or has opened in the Journal Square Plaza. Yes, and that was donated to us by the Port Authority. They're giving us, they're giving the county a lease on that, and it's a small, just empty room with a desk and a computer and a telephone where homeless can actually go, and there's a social worker who will be stationed there full-time, or multiple social workers, they'll change out, and the Port Authority police working at Journal Square will always know when there's a person in there working, and we'll be able to refer homeless to them, or, if the outreach worker is, talking to people outside, they can bring them in the office, it's confidential, and they can actually enroll them in services through the county with the telecommunications equipment that's located in the office. So that's one of the locations that outreach is being done very actively, yeah.
Questions? That's it?
That's it.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you.
Thank you.
And,
Stanley Wong is here.
Stanley, councilperson
Do I come here?
Come on up.
Get in the hot seat.
Oh, can we do that?
Yes, you have something to present.
Council members, this would be about something you received at the beginning of the meeting, which we've identified as 3C. It's City Ordinance 15003.
It was pulled at a previous meeting?
We pulled it at a previous meeting to make a few adjustments, and we added it, and there's also a fact sheet that you all should have gotten as well. Okay, so this issue is kind of near and dear to my heart, and hopefully to all of yours as well. Last year, immediately after we repaved 4th Street, the very next day, a utilities company came and hung up signs and notified all the neighbors that they needed to move their cars because there was going to be service work on that road. The day after we made a capital, I need that, you can't take it. I got it, Robert handed them out. Okay, I got one, I don't know how, okay. Huh, some people got some. Okay. And so literally the day after we made a large capital investment to repave a road, it was, there was somebody trying to undo the work we did. And so we got into looking at what the laws were, and there are several things that we are proposing with this in conjunction with engineering. I should just say that we based this, we did research in what's done in other cities. We're fortunate enough that Union City already has these laws on their books, so we were able to kind of look at them as a set of best practices. So specifically what it does is it gives, there's an inability to open up any road that has been repaved in the last 5 years except for emergency purposes. If you're required to repave block to block any road that has been repaved in the last 10 years, unless the person requesting to open the road is an individual property owner with less than 10 units. For all situations where a full repaving block to block is not required, we are putting a new standard in place. There's not necessarily a defined standard. There will now be a defined standard. It's called the infrared method. That's been recommended by the engineering department. So they'll have to use that. So if it's greater than 10 years, they can use the infrared method to patch. If it's less than 10 years, they have to, and they're ripping up our roads, and we just made a large capital investment, they have to repave it block to block. The contractor must ensure engineering oversight of the backfill process. The contractor must secure a $25,000 bond in case they've not done a good job with their repairs. And then last but not least, they must fully restore all of our cobblestone streets and any pedestrian crossing that they mess up. Nope, that's it.
I mean, this is important as we engage in a major resurfacing project. Council just approved $8 million in street resurfacing, so we don't want to start resurfacing, then get ripped up right away. So, and they've also are going to be meeting with PSE&G in advance, so they know what work is planned by them, so we don't resurface this and they get ripped up right away either.
And that's one of the things that historically, you know, the engineering, traffic, and formula that was in the DPW was trying to do, right? They would proactively say, this is what we're going to do this year, but unless you have something with teeth, it's not going to be really followed. So unless it's, hey, you can't do this or you're going to have to repave it block to block, I suspect the coordination will start to come in line a little bit more now. That's been what we've told has happened in Union City, that all of a sudden the utility companies are starting to plan and work with the city a little bit more because they don't want to incur the expense of completely paying for repaving the entire road block to block. They are, but there's no teeth behind it. So there's nothing forcing it. This forces it. This forces it, and it says, if you don't want to coordinate, they wrote it with me. They wrote it with me.
Questions? Anyone else have questions?
So, no, we don't, but I'd like to hear from our engineering department that what is your major concern about this new ordinance, you know what I'm saying? Because now, what we have idealistic, we like to have your idea, but as engineers, practically what it can be issued.
I think no matter what kind of rule, namely, I'm Stanley Huang.
I stand well.
I think our intention of upgrading the ordinance is to making sure that our street is kept intact, not messed up by the contractor who excavate the street and walk away with the messy streets. Rule are theirs, regulations, how to restore the street. It's being Jersey City engineer standard. The key point is how do you enforce it? There are times there's no inspector whatsoever. And the contractor knows I do whatever I want. In other words, they say kick the dirt back into the hole and walk away. And that's how can you expect the city street be kept, you know, in decent shape. So I think with all the intentions, we need to have an inspector to actually physically watch the contractor who make the cut responsible to restore it according to Jersey City standard. There are times when we have 4 inspectors and we see the city street are kept very decent situation. And when there's no inspector, then people say that, well, look at the city street. Everybody messed up, everybody knows. When they call us, I need an inspector, and we say, we have nobody to watch.
But just to be clear, that's a separate, funding an inspector is separate from the legislation.
Okay.
Right, I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
So actually, the general practice that we have is that if the street is paved new, like within 5 years, when the homeowner make his utility cut, he's only one straight line from the sewer or water line into the house. So for that reason, we're making sure that repair is done correctly, properly compacted and smoothed out. If it's a new street, we call it infrared. Infrared means that ultimately you use a heated pad, like iron your clothes, that you blend in the trench cut into the existing, so that you probably theoretically should not see a seam, a cut, and they should be level, and that would be acceptable for a new trench restoration. I think our problem usually is mainly we have a public service, PSNG gas, who does the long cut, throughout the block and whole 9 yards. They are obligated to do from wherever the curb into the street, and at least half of the street. So that if the street is decently, paved a few years back, 5 years, there's no need really to pave curb to curb, because why do you remove the good street and then do it again just for the heck of it? It's become a burden of whoever are told to do that. They're going to say, hey, why do I spend this money to do that? Even though it sounds good for the city, but people will be hesitate, to just do the work unless it's absolutely necessary, because they have a burden to pay. However, this morning, PSNG has come to Jersey City and talk about they have 1.2, not million, but billion project next year to replace Jersey City gas main all over the city. And then they have to replace a new gas pipe. Therefore, they have to pay minimum from the side of the gas main, either left side or right side. And then they obligate to mill and pave from the curb to the center line of the street. Of course, we have $8 million street paving projects, which will be overlapped. So as of this morning, we discussed that we're going to sit down and talk about your street, my street. There are a couple of wards, they are not improving the gas main, so we will pave that first. So when they finish paving, improve the sewer line, either they do the entire street, so we don't have to pave those streets, or they do a decent patch and we pave the street, but we get a credit. Because they're supposed to pave only half of the street, but we want to improve the whole street. So we'll be plus minus, they are obligated to spend that much money, they are obligated, and then pave the street with us. So it will be a messy, but it will be paved new street a lot next year.
My question is, who's gonna be doing the job, the private contractor or the city?
This doesn't define that. It's whoever is responsible for it today would be responsible for it tomorrow.
Inspectors that were just brought out, for a little bit. And the fact that you said next year, PSC&G is going to be breaking up a lot of ground. So, do we need those inspectors, so they can do the right job? Is that what we're saying?
Well, last year, 2014, we have over 1,600 street opening permits. 1,600. We also have dumpster permit at over 1,000. And everything else, we have, right now, 2 inspectors to cover the 1,600 street opening. So
last year, in 2014, it wasn't, a good job wasn't done. Is that what you're saying?
My point is that PSNG, they come and ask for permit. They give us a plan, which street we are going to mess up, right? So if we know those streets are not done correctly, we just pick up the phone call.
Yeah, but it should be the legislation.
They go back and fix it because they pay their contractor once. They don't pay them twice. So if they are not doing it right and we complain, PSNG will go back, call the contract, go back and do it again. Because their contract with PSNG is to do everything according to Jersey City standard. So they have no hesitation.
So I think Councilperson Osborne said it, the inspectors are kind of a separate issue.
Yep.
And when we get to the budget cycle, you guys can jump all over that.
So this defines the standard, basically.
Yes.
It codifies the standard that, and we wrote it, my office wrote it in conjunction with the law department and the engineering department, so.
My question for you is, it mentions if the street's been repaved and has been paved 10 years ago. So my question is, does your office maintain these sort of records and have systems in place to be able to know what roads have been repaved for the past 10 years?
Yes, we
moving
do.
forward?
Yes, we do.
What is the life expectancy of a newly paved street?
Normally, the state allows city to apply for the same street after 10 years. In other words, they recognize after 10 years of the street, it's qualified to apply again to do a second time resurfacing. But in our city, it depends on which street is more traveled. So some street will be more deteriorated.
So is this prorated if it's 9 years since we paved the street?
No.
Nope. From practical perspective, we have roads that are 30 years, haven't been repaved in 30 years in Jersey City.
So you can give us an inventory of all the roads and when they were last repaved?
Yes, can you repeat?
Can you
You can give us an inventory, a list of all the roads in Jersey City and when they were last repaved?
Last few years.
Historically, can you give us a list of all the roads that were repaved?
We have a record of the last 10 years, which year we paved what street. We can provide those information on the map with the color coded and saying that.
Can we have that? Have we monitored that?
Yeah, that's,
Yes,
yeah.
we could provide.
It's a good ask.
We have an ordinance saying that the contractors are supposed to restore the street to the way they found it before.
Yes.
We already have the ordinance. If it's not being enforced by the city, I don't see a reason for another ordinance when we already have the ordinance.
We're modifying that ordinance, we're being a little more specific.
How specific? Dig up the street, you have to
As it was
repave it the way.
before, is up to interpretation. Block to block and infrared is not up to interpretation.
Your point is taken. Inspection and enforcement is critical as well.
There's a concern of when we say pave curb to curb, it would be a burdensome to every individual homeowner.
That's why we put out exclusion for them.
Because when you pave your
Yeah.
8,000 to 10,000 to provide water and sewer services
Yeah, we're
currently.
yeah.
And when you say pave curb to curb, I don't know how can they come out with the money to do that.
Thank you.
Morning. And who else do we have? Anyone else? Who?
Well, that's easier for a second reading ordinance. Let's just go to the first. There is no top, there's a middle. There's a middle. An ordinance honoring former Ward D Councilman William Bill Gaughan by naming the 100 steps connecting the Jersey City Heights with Franklin Street,
All right,
Bill Gaughan Way.
all right, there's a little bit of a... Yeah, I find it, and so do the people of the Riverview, we were never consulted. This is Ward C, not Ward D. I was never consulted on this, and neither was Ward Riverview. I have no objection to Bill Gaughan. I spoke to him today. But transparency doesn't seem to exist in the city anymore. I should have been notified about this, and so should the people of Riverview. No, naming the steps. And so should the people of Ogden Avenue.
So whose idea was it to name the steps?
Tell them, Bob, whose idea was it? I know who it was. The mayor's. And I find it very offensive that none of us, I've received more calls on this. I'm not objecting to Bill Gaughan, okay? I like Bill Gaughan. But courtesy is you refer to the council person. The bottom of the stairs may belong to this gentleman next to me. The top of the stairs belongs to Ward C.
How many stairs are yours?
About 5. I want it known.
I think it should be noted that, Councilman Gaughan fought for 10 years for those steps.
We're not talking about that. The courtesy is to notify the council person. It seems to be in this city now, a lot of things are going on, the council people are not notified. Not only in C and D, B and A, come on, it's courtesy. A and B, whatever the heck it is. You notify the council people.
That's what I hear what you're saying, and I'll pass it along, but you should reach out to the mayor and let him know.
It's what?
I hear what you're saying, I'll pass it along, you should reach out to the mayor and let him know.
You should pass it on. And the people of Riverview are highly incensed about this. As I said, they're not against Bill Gaughan, all right?
I
We're not-
encourage you to reach out to the mayor.
It's a courtesy. Courtesy, you do something in a ward, you go to the council
This is
person.
not a resolution, it is a ordinance. It'll be advertised in 2 weeks on January 28th.
First reading.
5-term Councilman Gaughan will be honored by this being, the 100 steps being not named after him. It took 20 years to happen.
Councilperson Coleman?
And not a resolution. What's the difference? I mean, why is this, we name streets, we use a resolution and all that.
No,
Why is this-
no.
We use the ordinance, yes, we do.
No.
We do, we use the ordinance.
No. This'll there'll be plenty of opportunity for Riverview Neighborhood Association. Anyone else would want to come down and join in the praise?
Yeah,
Okay, any questions on any of the second reading
I
ordinances?
got one. I want to name the City Hall step of Brian Clark.
Okay. Any questions? Any
Questions
questions?
on second reading ordinances?
Okay, hearing,
Councilman Yun.
Councilman Yun, on second reading, what ordinance, sir?
Yes, 4B.
4B.
Okay,
Yeah, when I see that there have a 14 parking lot, right? But when I count in the list, it's only 13. What I'm missing?
Huh? What?
They say 394 Central Avenue, the building at the 394 Central Avenue, and the 14 parking lot. But when I see that the list, there were only 13.
In the fact sheet, it says, resolution purpose, it says, 14 parking lots.
Yeah.
And he's saying that there's only 13 listed here.
Yes, that's why I was wondering, what is missing?
I don't know, I'll have to look.
I don't know.
Someone investigate that and see if we're missing anything?
Councilman, you're probably missing the post office, please.
Post office lot is not there?
The problem is there, you count 13 and the post office makes more.
I count 394 Central Avenue.
I count 15.
Maybe? Yeah. I just want to make sure, you know what I'm saying?
14.
14.
Which one is missing?
There is none.
Good.
Nothing's missing. With that being said,
We'll double check with the
Yeah.
enforcement
No,
tomorrow.
it's 14 on there.
Okay.
it's 14.
It's 14 on there.
No other questions on second readings?
Yeah, 4J.
4J,
Another,
wait, 4J is the acquisition of
Right.
500 Manila Avenue, the property owned by the city in perpetuity. You know what we're talking about, Joanne? The Roberto Clemente Little League Field and the fire.
And the parking lot.
And the
Is this
parking
gonna
lot.
be another deal where they're gonna sell the firehouse?
This is not for
4J.
This is ahead of
Your question, Councilman Bogiano?
No, I see this as, the rumor is they wanna sell the firehouse, so now they get the lot and they get the other properties. And they're gonna sell this land, and that's a major parking area over there. It's another situation like Summit Avenue, and I think it's wrong. It's. This is exercising, I believe,
An option that we had at the time.
74.
And I'm not speaking, you may be correct, I don't know.
So I just want to make sure it's a 13, okay?
Because this one is sold.
Sold. 2009, so I just want to make sure what is one of the lot is it?
Regardless of what's on the attachment, it's any and all property owned by the
City.
parking authority is being subsumed by the city. Correct. J, this was put into effect, Councilman, when the Unico building was built 30-some years ago. This was the agreement back then.
I think the council was just expressing his.
Okay, let's go to resolutions.
Oh, no, one thing I'm missing. Second reading is a 4E.
4E.
Yes. 4E.
All the way back.
That is the ordinance that is going to be tabled.
Yes.
This ordinance is going to be tabled at the meeting.
Which one?
4E, the ordinance you're just referencing,
Okay,
Councilman,
table,
is
right?
going to be tabled at the meeting. Brian Platt is here to speak to that.
So there are some electric car charging stations that the developer of 168, 172 First Street is looking to put in. We gave them a franchise ordinance a few months, 6 months ago to, you guys remember that whole story about that. So this is kind of cleaning up the legislation in that area to enable the angle parking for those spots. It's only allowed unless you specifically allow it in a spot. So you have to specifically say, we need to make an ordinance allowing it in that spot. But the traffic department is currently conflicting with what the developer thinks is appropriate for that spot, and they're still actually trying to work that out. So we put this on thinking this was going to be the way it was going to be. Now they're going to continue to discuss, and they should know by the end of this week, early next week. They're going to be meeting, going to the site and reviewing.
So I had a conversation with someone that the plugs should reach all the way around, even with back-in parking. So
Okay.
I get they don't want it to be back-in parking, but I don't think if we have to stick with back-in parking, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world because the plugs would reach to the front, so.
Yeah, so to the context behind what Councilwoman Osborne is saying is that the developer wants head-first angle parking. So you drive down the street and you turn to the side and the nose of your car goes in first. But according to the traffic department right now, there's only space for back-in angle parking, which means you pull past the space and then back in at an angle. That's because apparently a head-first in angle parking space requires a lane to back out into in addition to a travel lane. So it needs a lot more space than the back-in parking space. So, but yeah, I mean, there's several issues going on here, and we just want to get it right in the first shot. Yeah, so that's it. I'm done. I'm out of here. I'm gone.
One question.
One question?
Yes, I have.
A quick one?
Yes.
Okay.
It's being tabled, right?
This
Yes.
is tabled. Okay, so we're gonna able to ask next time, right?
Well,
Okay.
ask it. Ask it.
Yeah, oh, yes.
You know, I think you should.
Yes. Okay, now, actually, we give to one of the company, I don't know the name of the company, develop whatever we call, give to business for, instead of sell the gas, it sell electric. Is that right?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Then those developers actually working for profit, not for profit. It's a working for profit company. But we, City of Jersey, give to actually almost one whole block without, I think, a franchise fee. So in other words, if Michael want that, instead of open the gas station, sell the gas or diesel, I'm gonna sell electric for a hybrid car, electric car. Then somebody get, without any franchise fee, provide public space, street to the guy. But meantime, this guy, when he's looking for, in the future, when there are more open electric stations all over the city, then this guy have to be paid for that. You know what I'm saying? So
I think it's, but can I interrupt you because I think you
Yeah.
might misunderstand something, or maybe you don't. But it's whatever the price of electricity is. He's not saying like I'm going to charge an extra $2 charge on top of it. It's just a straight pass through of whatever the electricity charge is.
And the other two things to keep in mind
okay.
that the developer fronted the cost, well, is covering the cost of installing the infrastructure here, which is $500,000 to $1 million. It was some very large number that we were not willing to pay. First of all, second of all,
invest the money.
yeah,
So
right.
you cannot be
But the other point is that this development, the way it was planned was, in lieu of having a parking deck in it, they were going to have a shared car program in front of the building that is also accessible to the community. So it's kind of a half community give back of, we're going to give you all these electric cars that you can use in the community right there, but also for the residents that they don't have to have cars to live in that building. They will have shared cars outside. So it's kind of, there are a lot of layers to it. It's not just about a developer being able to charge money for electric car charges.
So actually, the way Councilor, who she is involved that part of it, whatever is a cost for them, that's what they're going to charge.
Yeah. It's regulated by.
Franchise company say that?
Says what?
Franchise agreement with the state stuff.
I don't.
Just make a franchise agreement with that developer. On the agreement, we say that they're not going to make any profit. They're going to charge you whatever their cost. We say that or not?
I have to go back.
We should because that was my understanding.
But understand orally go nowhere in Jersey City. when the 3 years, 2 years later, when the administration changed,
Someone double check?
Yeah,
Yes,
that's a very good point.
Yeah, we'll just look at it, I don't remember off the top of my
I
head.
need a formal email from you, well, law department to say that, yes, franchise are going to clearly say that, you know what I'm saying, that whatever is the cost, that's what the people are going to be paid for.
Yeah.
You understand? Other than that, it was a big favor to certain person. You know what I'm saying? We provide city public street for the business is wrong. I just want to make clear, okay? So I just want to hear from that, okay?
Okay.
Not by orally,
Okay.
from writing. Thank you.
Okay, let's take it from the top, council members. On resolutions, we have an emergency temporary appropriation. I believe it's a grant receipt. B is cancellation of real estate taxes on 140 Bidwell Avenue and 160 Randolph Avenue, as well as 243 Pearsall Avenue due to veterans exemption. C is a resolution authorizing the execution of a mortgage subordination for the property at 296, 298 Van Horn Street. 3D is a resolution of the council amending program contracts for summer youth programs under the Community Development Block Grant Public Services for program year April 1, 2013 through March 30, 2014. E is a resolution of the Municipal Council of the City of Jersey City authorizing the Planning Board to conduct a preliminary investigation of conditions of the Clinton Avenue study area for determination as an area of need of redevelopment or rehabilitation. 3F is an annual event, a resolution authorizing a license agreement with the Jersey City Reservoir Preservation Alliance Incorporated, granting permission to enter into the city-owned property known as Reservoir Number 3.
Excuse me.
Yeah, I have a question about 10E, the Clinton Avenue study area. What's there now? What's the intent behind this?
It's a study area. It's a study to determine if the area fits underneath the need for redevelopment criteria for rehabilitation. And I guess eventually, if it's deemed that way, there'll be some integration with the plan in order to determine if we want to proceed with.
There's some vacant land, dilapidated structures there.
Is Jeff here?
He was here.
For a good long time.
Isn't there a developer that's interested in building something here?
Usually initiated by developer.
Usually.
Right, because I'm getting calls.
But it has no redevelopment plan and the area is blighted around it. So some of the property is owned by a particular developer, just like Ocean Avenue is owned by a particular development, but there's no plan to redevelop around the property that he owns, so.
This is a first step. Nothing can happen until the planning board does conduct a study and recommends
No, I
recommends
understand. I
it.
just wanted to
But it's
understand the context, because
it is a
sometimes the
very
context is
it's a
vague.
very fallow area.
Yeah,
But we
exactly.
can have Jeff come through for the council.
Sometimes the context is noble and sometimes the context is not noble.
Right.
Well, there's nobility here.
Yeah, we can have
Okay.
Jeff come on Wednesday.
Okay, President, can I ask a 10D?
10B is in boy?
No, D like a David.
We're going back.
Yeah. Robert? PA, can't you explain that they're gonna, actually transfer money, $21,000 to EDC? Actually, they're gonna do summer work, summer youth program. And as I understand, our recreation department have a summer job program for the, kids. So what is the difference between this one, run by EDC, and the recreation department?
First of all, this is actually for last summer program. EDC didn't get reimbursed. This is the process of reimbursing them for the money. No, EDC is getting reimbursed. Now, the programs that the balances are being transferred from are projects that are over, or they're completed and then use up all their money. So those available balances are now being canceled from that and being reappropriated to the EDC to pay or reimburse EDC for the costs they outlaid for summer 14's summer works project.
We're using grant money to pay for program services.
They were already delivered.
It was already
That was
delivered.
already delivered, because that's the way a grant works, it's reimbursable, which means you have to do the work, submit the voucher with the bills, and then you get reimbursed, so that's how it works. That's how the CDBG and CSBG grants work.
Okay.
Okay, we are up to G, an award of contract to TAPCO Incorporated for the purchase of a guard booth for the Department of Administration through the U.S. Communities Government Purchasing Alliance. You authorized participation in that program by resolution some months ago. We did H with Bob Baker. I is a contract to All Traffic Solutions for the purchase and delivery of variable message display boards and related accessories under the Government Services Administration contract for the Office of Emergency Management, paid for by the Urban Area Security Initiative Grant.
This is a solar power energy they use, or as a?
I think it's battery operated.
But I mean, they'll have the solar charge, or just?
Probably has a battery backup there. I'm sure we can find out.
Okay.
There's a lot of specifics attached to the resolution. I don't know if, many of the signs do have a solar component.
Right.
With a battery backup. J, we did through O with Ms. DeVico earlier. We are to P, a resolution. P and Q are resolutions we receive every year for overtime for the police department. P is for Violent Gang and Gun Crime Reduction Program, and Q is for to combat driving while intoxicated. We get grant monies to cover overtime in the police division for both these activities. R.
Sorry. 10P is hiring. Yeah, it's in conjunction with Rutgers University.
Sorry.
You know, they're gonna be purchasing hardware and software for crime analysis, hiring a social worker, a licensed social worker, and it's also funding enough to hire a police officer to replace the officer that was just made a detective.
Oh, okay.
So now, okay, 10R.
On our, council, I have to apologize, there was a wire cross, I guess, between the fact sheet and the actual reso. They attached an old reso that we'd already done, so I gotta get the proper reso down to you guys as a replacement. No, the proper reso, the fact sheet's correct.
The fact sheet is correct, the resolution is not.
That's right.
Are we hiring the same company?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. That's why it got crossed.
So the text in the reso is gonna change.
Okay.
And it's going to be same firm?
Same firm.
Okay. New reso, okay. Thank you. S is a professional services contract to Holt Morgan Russell for the Lowe's Theater lobby bronze door rehabilitation.
Pass that months ago.
Yeah, you paid for
Emergency access doors.
emergency access.
This is for the front door.
No, we did the front door.
No, we did the front door too.
We do the front door.
Look into that.
This is wait, slow down.
To manage it, I think you hired the contractor.
That's right.
This is just someone to represent us
This is
to oversee the
administration
construction.
services.
It's a site management.
Yeah,
Construct-
basically.
It says in the title, Construction Administration Services, in connection with that Indians.
Very.
Okay, T, authorizing a professional services contract to Arcadis US Incorporated to perform further environmental investigation for PJP check cashing site. U is a resolution authorizing the use of competitive contracting to award a contract for the operation, management, or administration of data processing services for the sanitization and digital reproduction of files and documents damaged as a result of Hurricane Sandy.
Can I ask you this one?
Yes.
I think till end of 2014, the way we proved that, we almost spent close to $1 million. You know that, right?
Sure.
Give you a little bit of additional on this one.
Yeah.
So, back in June of last year, I believe the council voted on an extension, or I'm sorry, an amendment to an emergency purchase order that was issued shortly after Hurricane Sandy. I think at that time it bumped up the contract to $1.5 million. So what happened is after the summer, we started getting more invoices from the vendor in excess of that number. So we said, time out, who authorized you to go above and beyond the contract? So since, I guess September through now, my staff with the law department, along with Robert Byrne and various other officials have been going over what they've said they were doing to confirm that the work was being done. And then we actually had to confirm with FEMA that the process we were taking, was still eligible for reimbursement. So probably next council meeting, you're going to see a resolution of a claim representing the balance of what they've done so far, which is, it's a big number. So, which concerned us. That's why we put a stop to it. In order to move forward, a lot of these records are very important to the city. It's very extensive work they've done. I mean, they've shown us actual DVD videos of the warehouse, over 3,000 boxes of files, and they've gone sheet by sheet by sheet, categorizing and labeling them. It's amazing what they've done. So the number's going to sound high, but the amount of work that's been involved is pretty remarkable. But in order for us to submit this properly through FEMA, we have to follow proper procurement measures. It was initially awarded as an emergency, and it was rightfully so at that time, but no one in their right mind knew the extensive work that was going to be involved. So we've had to stop them, and now we have to take this process to properly procure it to show FEMA that we are following their rules. For in order for us to get 90% of our money back, this is what we have to do. So this is step one. There'll be an RFP out there saying what services we need now to get us from where we are with document reprocessors to the end. We have eliminated a lot of those documents, stuff that we don't need, but there are a lot of documents.
I spent a good 10 business days with 2 of my staff members. We went through identifying records. They have 10-digit serial numbers assigned to them by the State of New Jersey's Division of Archives and Records Management. We have basically just found which records had a retention period that can go and that which must stay. We have a lot of time and effort invested in this process so far, but as Robert has indicated, we had to hit the brakes and do this the right way, because drying the records was very important, sorting the records is very important. The rest of the way, it's very important. They have the expertise to take us to the finish line, but we have to do the procurement process correctly.
And we will bring them in the next time we submit the claims resolution, so he can explain how he got to where he's at, show you what he has done. It's pretty impressive.
And all of this has been, all of his work has been done in good faith. He
Right.
had a green light from individuals in government, so. Okay.
All right.
V and W are appointment of individuals to the Medical Center Board of Trustees. Genevieve Gazan and W. Nevins McCann is being reappointed to the Medical Center Board of Trustees. X is an appointment of Evelyn Farmer as a member of the Jersey City Redevelopment Agency. Y is a resolution directing the Hudson County Clerk to place a non-binding referendum on the ballot of the next ensuing general election as to whether or not the municipal council should change the date of its regular municipal election from the second Tuesday in May to the day of the general election in November.
Okay, now, who's gonna be answer for this one? You're gonna be answer? Okay, now, City of Jersey City is a non-partisan election, right? Because of non-partisan election, myself, actually, Councilman Richardo, more possible to elect the last election.
Me too, I was an independent.
Oh, you was there? Oh, I
Who
know.
was you Republican or Democrat when you ran?
Right.
Okay.
Now, so now, the law department has to be clear for that part of it. Because of a non-partisan election, we got runoff, correct, Robert?
Gotta have a run.
Wait. You started to ask him, you asked me. The Faulkner Act is a menu for people to vote to pick their forms of government.
Yes.
You can have Faulkner Act communities with concurrent terms or staggered terms. You don't have to all run at once. You could you could have 3 seats up every 2 years. You could have a 4-year term for the mayor. You can have a runoff provision. You could not have a runoff provision. It's all up to what the voters select. It's a menu. It's
Partisan or non-partisan? Yes. could be president or not.
Wait a minute.
Then now, then we gotta look, because this is a new things to us, not only myself, everybody.
Well, not to everybody.
Yeah. So, at present time, we do May election as non-partisan, and we have a runoff. So now, if we move to this election to December, we gonna have a primary?
No, we're still gonna be nonpartisan. And we're gonna still have a runoff. Well done.
So, hold on a minute, we gotta be clear. So let me ask you this one, I'm not finished yet, okay, because of long questions we have. So now, we're gonna move to the November, okay? Then.
Can I explain what it
Yes,
means?
yes, can you? Yes, probably you know most of them.
If this gets presented to the voters, and the voters decide to move the election will be moved to November. Petitions, instead of being due in March, people trudging through the snow in January, February, and March, they'll be in the sunshine in April, May, June, and July, and August, and submitting to my office at the end of August petitions to run for the November election. There will be not participating in the June primary. We are still going to be remain nonpartisan. So the petitions in number, in fact, the councilpersons who ran at large, councilpersons Rivera, Waterman, and Lavaro, needed over 1,300 signatures to get on the ballot. If you decide in January to run, you've got a job to get them in by mid-March. Weather can cost you. Going door to door in your mittens is kind of a little bit difficult. Certainly, it's going to mirror the procedure now, except that you're going to move it to November and eliminate one election.
One election.
One election will be eliminated.
This resolution did not move it to November.
No, it asked for the voters' sentiment.
Yes, we understand.
After that, the council would adopt or consider the adoption of an ordinance.
And that ordinance could take the form of runoff or no runoff. It could be partisan, nonpartisan.
No,
Your
you
ordinance.
can't change the partisan.
Oh, you can't, okay. Your ordinance can, that's a charter change to partisan, but your ordinance can take whatever form you want. What you're asking the public for is their sentiment about the specific issue, the specific question of changing the date. Right.
So can I suggest actually,
This is a really, it's a big issue, and this is a series we changed actually, one of the election system what we had, many years in Jersey City. People used to with that. Instead of put a resolution, instead to, pass the resolution without completely, fully understand, can we just table it and we have some kind of a session so we fully understand?
No, this is just to start the dialogue.
This is just to ask.
This wouldn't get voted on until, by residents until November?
Yeah, this is the first
So we have a lot of time to talk about it.
But before we say this was a yes or no, we just make sure that ourselves, what we.
Before you decide whether you want to ask.
Right, that's what I'm saying, because before you say yes, no, you should
We're
fully
just asking the
understand.
public for their input.
No, so not the public, but I mean councilmen, count ourselves.
So you're saying you should make up your mind about what to do ahead of time? I don't understand what you're saying.
Go ahead.
The point is to ask for their input so you can help you make your mind.
But I like to know, when the people ask, I have to be able to answer, you know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, you could certainly, we'll get you whatever information you need. You have months to get ready.
There has to be a runoff, no matter what you do. If you had 10 people running for office and you don't have a runoff.
Councilman, this isn't.
If you change it to November, there will not be a runoff.
No, that's not true. That's not true, Councilman.
That's not so.
There'll be a runoff in January.
Depends on the vote.
Time out. That depends on what is in the ordinance that the council adopts.
Right. If we choose to adopt. It's not a given.
No, there's no.
The only thing they change is to move the date. That's it. It doesn't guarantee that there's a runoff. If there's a majority in the November election, then you don't have a runoff. Just like that right now, if you run in May and there's a majority vote for every position, you don't have a runoff.
There's a Candace Osborne.
The percentage is not mentioned. So that won't change unless you change it. Right now, you just.
This whole thing has to be talked about in detail. Listen, can we,
It's not so simple.
If we change the date, there are runs. All right, listen.
Period. There's nothing else.
Two quick things
I'm not necessarily on board.
Asbestos removed in this building on Saturday. I was down here Sunday morning. I was here for several hours, quite a while.
Email said don't come down.
Sunday, there were 300 people in that room there.
Okay, now,
Finish this conversation.
oh, yes. Can
I thought we were finished.
So, Robert,
Folks,
let me ask you this one, because you are the one actually conduct all the elections. Now, we see the ballot form, right? Governors, the state senator, assembly, and typically Jersey City, probably we have 4 or 5 mayors, and
Public questions.
public questions, and 9 councilpeople we elect, but,
Four on any given ballot, 3 at large and 1 ward.
yes, yeah, but you know what I'm saying, people, so many people wrong. I think a whole board gonna be so crowded, and some area is a general election as a party, some as a non-partisan. We're gonna put the people very confused.
All right,
So can you explain to me?
I'll help you out.
Yeah.
In 1989, I was 29 years old. There were 10 candidates running for mayor, 32 candidates running for at-large. The voting machine was 40 rows deep. There was no room to space anyone. Marilyn Roman, Efren Rosario, and Maureen Collier were like 28, 29, and 30. People found them, elected them. Gerald McCann was number 6. They found him and elected him. Every ward was contested between 9 and 13 individuals. The people of Jersey City will find you on the ballot. Everyone covets the top upper left position, but if they want you, they'll find you on the ballot. There have been tougher ballots in Jersey City.
Yeah, but they usually vote straight.
Councilperson Osborne?
However, I will say there's easier ballots in other states.
Excuse me, Councilman Bajano, there is no voting straight down, because there's a column for mayor.
Right.
Then you have to go to a column B and find who your choices are for at-large, and then go to column C and find your ward council. There's no going, unless I magically pull and you wind up going across on a line, and that has happened in a runoff in 1993, and Jack Carbone, the preeminent election attorney in New Jersey, called me the man with the golden arm, because everybody ran right straight across.
Okay.
There.
Councilperson Osborne. Jen, did you?
I think it's, I share the underlying frustration that Michael Yen has, is that the ballot's confusing sometimes. Like, I don't think it has anything to do with this decision, but sometimes the ballot is confusing. I don't know what we can do. If 2-year-olds can use an iPad, we should be able to simplify it somehow, but I don't think I think it's confusing anyways, like, regardless of whether or not we add these
Confusing
names.
anyway, so we're not worried about it.
No, it's confusing in May, is my point. It's confusing wherever you
It's
see
gonna be,
it.
that's it. So
When we moved the Board of Ed election in November, in 2013, it was confusing. People lobbied and advocated to change the design of the ballot to make it less confusing, and you saw higher turnout in 2014 for the Board of Ed election than you saw in 2013. People were notified.
But now, my concern is that
So now we moved to the Board of Election to November. And then our general election, we have a state, even present state so-and-so would lined up. So now, Robert, so the letter will get very small and small, right?
No.
No? We got plenty of room?
No, there is the size of the voting machines.
No problem.
It depends on, there's a lot of factors involved. I don't predict a problem right now.
You're gonna win the old money.
Okay, this has to be discussed completely before
All right.
anything is done. Now, you say something, there was
Wait, we talked about Z, which was the Garden State Episcopal Community Development Corporation. And Z1 is a resolution commending the Reverend Dr. Ursel F. Webb School, Public School Number 22, for holding the junior mayoral elections of Jersey City.
Oh, and, yes. So at the meeting on January 5th, we talked about a resolution with regard to the PATH service, if things hadn't changed, if the situation hadn't changed. So there's something drafted, there's some revisions being made to it at this point, and hopefully get something out to everybody and let you take a look at that. Yep.
Can we make a similar resolution about Liberty State Park and the privatization?
Changing that too.
It's a good idea.
Yeah.
Is that something that would be easy to draft? If I drafted it, can we put it on?
Yeah, draft it, send it over.
All right, I'll do it tomorrow.
That's
Can I need
Can I
that
just
number?
ask,
It gets added as a late item.
Yeah.
Bob, who did the asbestos removal in here on Saturday?
Name the contractor?
Well, I came in here Sunday, we had about 300 people here. I don't think any, if
The
they did it on...
contractor was well aware that they had to be done by 10 o'clock Sunday morning, and they were done by
Did they set up,
9:56.
did they set up showers? Did they set up, what I understand, I don't...
They are professionals in the asbestos removal
Well,
field.
When I came in
and-
Sunday morning, being honest with you, I'm aware of it from Franny, you should know from the precincts when we had asbestos. I don't, to me...
It was strictly in the basement and
One more
isolated
question,
area.
what about the raises for the girls, the dispatchers, and the people that work in city?
Yes,
hall?
what happened?
Yeah. I mean...
We have a motion by Councilperson
Whoa,
Waterman.
wait a minute.
Seconded by Councilman Montrell. At 8:02, motions to adjourn are not debatable. To adjourn, Councilperson Gajewski. Ramchal. Bajano.
No.
Yun. Osborne.
Aye.
Coleman. Rivera. Waterman. Lavara.
I didn't get my answer though.
We're out of here at 8:02. Thank you.
Now,